following is a presentation of the Fellowship Church at Anthem, a community of faith, love, and hope. For more information, please visit fellowshipanthem.com.
Well, good morning, everybody. How you guys doing today? Happy, cloudy, rainy, cool Sunday here in the Valley of the Fun, or the Sun, or whatever we used to call it here. Glad you're with us today. If you're a guest, welcome. My name is Ted, and we are going to have a great time today talking about one of my favorite topics in the world of personal growth and spiritual development, and it's the topic of meditation. Nope, not medication. Meditation. But sometimes meditation can actually be some great medication for the soul. And in the Western world, and particularly Western Christianity, we are not only unfamiliar with the concept of meditation, but we are often afraid of it. And I think that there's a sort of a generally held truth in life that we tend to be afraid of what we do not understand. Right? Would you agree? We are afraid of things we do not understand. Like, I did not realize until about 2 3/4 years ago how much I loved hummus. Didn't know it. I'd go to parties and I'd see these big platters full of sort of goo, different colors, right? You had green goo, and then sometimes it was more like paste, like a form of wallpaper paste. Sometimes it was it just looked like someone had thrown up. And, people would say, you should try hummus. And I'm like, no, I don't like hummus. And then we have a rule in our family that you are never allowed to say, particularly related to food, you can't say you don't like something that you've never tried. Because that's not, you can't know whether you like it if you haven't tried it. And I found myself the victim of my own rule. And one day someone said, have you ever tried hummus? And I said, well, no, I haven't. You should try it. I tried it, love it. Love hummus. I could eat hummus every day now. I could eat green hummus, black hummus, orange hummus, hummus with all kinds of stuff in it. I love hummus. But before I tried it, I didn't understand it. It's just chickpeas. I thought it was like mud. It's chickpeas and olive oil and garlic and sometimes tahini and whatever you want to just like throw in there. You can create hummus out of anything. And now I've come to love hummus. But before I understood it experientially, I was afraid of it. And so much of our spirituality is that way. So much of our lives are that way. We are afraid of what we do not understand. And most of us, if you've been raised in a Western version of Christianity, most of us have not experienced what we tend to call meditation. And so many times we're just afraid of it. It's a taboo topic for us. It's mystical. We have images in our mind of Buddhas sitting there, with arms and legs crossed and, and it can be that. It certainly can be that, but there's a lot of forms of meditation, and I want to talk to you about it. There's a whole breadth of research now about the value of meditation, not just from a spiritual standpoint, but from a scientific standpoint. And one of the things that we know now, and my own experience with meditation has borne this out, that it is one of the components that we add to our lives that integrates our body, mind, and spirit. We're talking about how we are triune beings. We are a body. We are flesh and blood. But it's not disconnected from my mind. My mind is a part of who I am as a person, and my mind and my body are connected. When my body feels bad, my mind confirms it, and it doesn't work right. When my mind is exhausted, my body feels tired. They're connected. And those two parts are connected to my spirit, and I believe that meditation is one of the key things that allows us to integrate the three components of who we are as a person: body, mind, and spirit. So I want to talk to you a little bit about it today. There's a whole lot of research out there about how beneficial meditation is, how it makes our bodies healthier, it lowers your stress, lowers your blood pressure, increases your heart capacity. We already know about its effect on the mind. I saw some research actually this week. This was that research that MIT had done, and did brain scans of people that meditated for 12 weeks, and they compared them to a test group that did not meditate for 12 weeks. How would you like to be the test group that says, hey, you're meditating, but you're really not, right? We want you in a meditation group, but don't meditate. Well, they compared the brain scans of these two groups, and what they found is the group that meditated for 12 weeks consistently for 45 minutes a day had increased brain matter. Their gray matter actually expanded in one part of their brain. So you can change not just the way your brain works, but you can literally change the physiology of your brain through meditation. So there's all kinds of research about it. I work with a guy right now who is in a very intense physical exercise program. And one of the things that happens in this program is they measure the age of your heart. Have you seen this, the science that's out there now? You have your chronological age, which I just celebrated a birthday last week, so my chronological age is 48. But then through a series of tests, they measure the actual age of your heart. And this guy, when I started working with him, he was involved in this very intense physical exercise program, and he's like 38 years old, but his heart age, through these series of tests and blood flow and VO2 max and all that kind of stuff, his heart age was 32. So he's actually younger than his body was, which is always good, right? If your heart is stronger than your body feels, then you're in really good shape. But I asked him to begin a process of meditation through some work that I was doing with him, and he began to meditate. And just a little bit at first every day. When he first started, it was just 1 or 2 minutes a day. And then it increased to 5, and now it's increased to about 15 minutes a day. And he took that test again recently, and what he realized, chronologically, he's still 38, but his heart is now 24. And he said, the only thing that I've changed in my life is meditation. It's the only difference. So there's all kinds of research out there about the value of meditation, and I want to give you some of my personal perspective because 4 years ago this month, I began a practice of meditation, and it really revolutionized my life. It changed me at the core of who I am. I was in the middle of really a personal burnout. We had built Fellowship a couple times over at that point. And I was physically exhausted. I was mentally wiped out. Spiritually, I was stepping up every Sunday to talk to you about the greatness of God, but I wasn't enjoying His greatness in my own life. And I was just wiped out. And I had practiced some meditation, just sort of dabbled in it here and there. And I was kind of at my wit's end, and I just said, I've got to do something different in terms of my life. It's the whole philosophy that we've been talking about during this deep dive change, which is you are the product today of what you were thinking, believing, and behaving yesterday. And if you want to change who you are tomorrow, you got to change today the way you think, what you believe, and the way you behave. And I recognized that for myself, and I said, I'm going to change some part of my behavior. And the thing that I decided to embrace was a meditation practice. And the particular version that I began to practice is called centering prayer. It's been around the church for centuries, and it was originally practiced by the Desert Fathers and Mothers, and it's still a part of some segments of the church, and it just became my chosen practice, and it really revolutionized my life. I walked into the practice with a couple commitments. I'm going to do it every day for 90 days. I'm going to do it no matter what kind of evidence I see or lack of evidence that I see. I'm going to do it. I'm going to live it out every day for 90 days. And what I began to realize was that this practice that I committed myself to, and it was 20 minutes every morning and every evening. And I decided that was way too much. I'm going to cut it in half because whatever anybody else can do, I can always do it in half. So I'm going to meditate myself into a new personage in 20 minutes. Every day. And so every morning I would get up before everybody else in my house got up. I selected a place for my meditation to take place. And every day for 90 days I began to meditate. And guys, all I can tell you is that experience changed my life forever. And I am now like the evangelist for meditation. And what happens is I talk to people about it all the time. I'm like, hey, do you meditate? No, not really. Or, yeah, I do a little bit. Or sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Or I used to. Or, no, I've been thinking about it or whatever. But I talk to a lot of people about meditation. And it's amazing to me how many people I talk to about meditation that kind of want to, don't know how to. Somewhere inside of them it's calling out to them. I tell them my story. And I always see a certain percentage of them that engage it and fall away from it because it's a hard practice. And I see a certain but much smaller percentage of them that engage it and stay with it, and ultimately it changes them. And so if you find yourself in need of a real transformative experience, that's why I want to talk to you about meditation today. Some of you will walk out here and go, I'm going to do that. Some of you will walk out and go, you know what, I'm just not ready for that, and that's okay. All right? One thing I have learned about my role as an advocate for meditation in our spiritual growth and our daily growth is that I can't make you do it, and if I do make you do it, then it doesn't do any good, right? So I want to give you a couple of thoughts about meditation, and the first one really comes out of the Scripture. I mean, when we think about meditation, it comes right out of our mind. So fix your thoughts on what is true. So the Bible has a lot to say about thoughts. God made your mind. He made us to be thinking beings. And if we ignore that dimension of who we are, that we have thoughts that roll through our mind, we are ignoring the way God hardwired us. So he says, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take your thoughts and I want you to fix them. In other words, lock them in. Focus them. This is sort of one of those precursors for meditation. This is one of the forms of meditation, actually, is to take an idea, a word, a mantra, a thought, an intention, and focus your mind on it. That's what Paul's talking about here in Philippians 4:8. Fix your thoughts on what is true. So focus on what's true. Focus on what's honorable. Fix your thoughts on what's right and what's pure and what's lovely and what's admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. That's a great foundation for meditation, because really our thoughts do drive our lives. Your thoughts create your beliefs determine your behavior. So if you have behavior in your life that seems to come up inconsistent with the things that you say that you value, all you have to do is step back and go, well, I must be believing something that's not true. And if you want to change that belief, then you have to go back to your thoughts and you go, I got to think differently about my life, about my God, about my family, about my job, about my body. I got to think differently about my mind. So let me give you a couple of benefits of meditation as I found them. And if you Google like benefits of meditation, you'll find all kinds of lists. I found one list this week that said 100 benefits of meditation. And I feel like that might have been overkill for this morning. So I boiled it down to about 6, and these come out of my own personal meditative practice that I've experienced. So here's the first one. Here's the first benefit of meditation. It increases my awareness. This was one of the first things that I noticed about meditation, was that I was involved in a kind of a heated conversation with someone that I had had many, many, many times over. And at that moment, in the middle of that conversation, literally, my mind just stopped. And I heard this little voice in my head, and I don't know, it could have been God, it could have been God's Spirit, it could have been my spirit, it could have been the television. I don't know what it was, but something said to me, you've had this same conversation in the same manner hundreds of times, and it hasn't worked. What makes you think it's going to continue to work? It might have been my wife. I don't know where the voice came from. But it connected with me, and my awareness suddenly skyrocketed. And I stopped the conversation, and I said to the person who I was having the conversation with, we will never have this conversation like this again, I promise. I think I've only broken that promise twice, maybe 3 times over the course of the last 4 years, but it was a moment where everything just stopped for me. And it was so important because I've come to realize that many of us live our lives in a comatose state. We walk through life half aware of what's happening around us. You ever have one of those moments where you're driving down the freeway and you know where you got to get off, but your mind is like wandering all around, and you drive past your intended exit? And you don't realize, it's always amazing when you get, how far past your intended exit do you get before you finally go, oh, I missed my exit. That's an evidence of the fact that we walk through life in a partial coma. What happens to us when we increase our awareness through meditation is we move from the place of being the thinker, where we are completely immersed in our own thoughts, to suddenly stepping back 1 degree where we become the watcher. And I can now observe my thoughts. I can actually say it to myself or about myself, I'm thinking that thought. When I'm in my thinker, I can't think about what I'm thinking about. I have to move to a new position, the watcher. It's like, wow, look at what I'm believing. I didn't know I believed that about myself. That happens through our increased awareness. Let me give you an example of sometimes just our lack of awareness to our environmental surroundings. Some of you have been here a lot of times, like hundreds of times on a Sunday over the last few years of your life. And we come into the environments and we become so numb and so neutral to the environments, we don't notice subtle changes that happen in the environments. Let me ask you a question. Be honest, just be honest. How many of you noticed that in this environment where you're currently sitting, we are the only church in America with a disco ball? Right? Look, right up there. It's a disco ball. We're the only church in America that has not just one, but two. We have one hanging out in the lobby. We have disco balls everywhere. See, look. Check it out. Look at that. Not getting this at Mass. All right. Just saying. Hey, Deacon Bill is my friend. So some of you have come in here a lot of times. You sat in the same chair, same part of this auditorium, and you've not noticed the disco ball, which has been hanging up there for months now. Why is that? Because most of us walk through life sort of with tunnel vision, right? Can't see what's above, can't see what's outside. We can only see what's right in front of us because we're so busy. So one of the benefits of meditation is it sort of snaps me awake. Sometimes for just a second, just a minute. It's all I need. And I go, wow, hang on. We have a disco ball up there. We see parts of the world that we never saw before. It's always been there. We just never saw it. All right, here's the second thing about meditation. Number 2, it pushes the pause button on my brain. Our brains go through cycles of thought that run so fast, faster than any computer that we've invented so far. And we can't keep up with even our own thoughts. And some of our brains, if you're prone to attention deficit disorder or something like that, or your brain runs so fast right now and so random and so varied. If we tried to map your brain right now, there wouldn't be enough paper in the world to do it. You couldn't keep up because it's over here, and then it's up there, and then it's down here, and then it's back there. It's like, hey, let's go to lunch today. Where do you want to go to lunch today? I don't know. Do we need to watch calories? No, because it's cloudy outside. It is cloudy outside. There's rain coming down. It rained a lot last night. I wonder if it leaked in the garage. It probably did. I need to clean the garage, right? That's the way our brains work. And we're like, my God, so what would it be like to go click, pause, and actually stop the process of thought? That's what happens in meditation. It allows me to examine my thoughts. We have a little phrase that we sometimes say about people when they kind of appear to be like out of control. We say, he's out of his, right? That's not true. When we are out of control, we're actually too far into our minds. Our minds are controlling everything, and our minds are out of control. It's when we actually can push back to the stage of the watcher and go, oh, my brain is overworking itself. Maybe I should tell it to be quiet for a minute. When we step back and get perspective into the watcher state and push pause on the stream of nonstop thoughts, and it actually rests for a minute, it's amazing what can happen to our lives. Meditation does that. It allows us to push pause on your brain. Now, I know that for some of you, that's why you push back on the concept of meditation. You're like, I can't meditate. My mind just runs too fast. It runs too fast because you don't meditate. If you meditated, you'd learn how to go pause and actually slow down that nonstop stream of thoughts. All right? Here's the third benefit to meditation that I've found in my life. It allows me space to choose a different response. Most of the time, our actions come from a place of subconsciousness in our brain. They're patterned because of our pattern of thoughts and ideas and belief systems. And so when we get into a moment, a fight or flight moment, whether it's with our spouse or with our boss or on the freeway, immediately, automatic things happen. And meditation allows me to just put a space in my brain so that I can choose a different response. Instead of reacting out of the automatic part, well, this is what I always do. This is what I always say. This is how I always act. I can actually pause long enough to choose a different response. This past week, I came home one night, and I was going to fix dinner for the family, and it had been one of those nonstop days, all day long, nonstop, a few crises to work through, a few challenges to work through. And when I walked in the door, I had a couple of bags of groceries in my hand. When I walked in the door, I immediately recognized that if I did not go and set these groceries on the counter and go into my living room and sit down in my chair and meditate for 15 minutes, I was literally going to, through exhaustion of mind, I was going to sabotage the entire night with my family. I had that moment of awareness. So I walked in, kissed Peg. She kissed me and hugged me and held me for a long time, as she always does every time I walk in. Anyway, so I just said to her, I'm going to cook dinner, but I have to go meditate first. And she knew that if I didn't, I was going to wreck the night. So I did. I just went and I sat in my chair and I put some headphones on and I just sat there and meditated for 15 minutes. I came back and I was the most Zen cook you've ever seen. Right? So what happens is it allows me space so that I can choose a different response. When my thoughts are all bumped together, they're all jumbled together, there's no space to actually choose a different way to live. Here's the fourth thing. Meditation slows down my reaction time. Meditation slows down my reaction time. As I said, most of us operate our lives out of the automatic part of our brain. So an event happens in our life and we respond to it or we react to it. Someone says something to us, we react right back, automatically, without thinking. And what meditation does, it slows down the reaction time so that what I normally would do that might cause chaos in the environment or damage or wounds to my friends or family, it slows it all down. Go, hang on a second. Hang on a second. I'll tell you one of the tests that I've come to realize that I give myself every day to determine how fast I'm moving at the beginning of the day. I can tell how fast I'm moving at the beginning of the day by how hard I'm brushing my teeth. Have you ever noticed that? Even in the mornings when I get up, I do my meditation, have some good quiet time, read a book, read some scripture verses, set the mood for the day. By the time I move from that space into a shower, change my clothes, do a workout, whatever, I come back, get ready to brush my teeth. Sometimes I'm sitting there, I'm not thinking about the brushing of the teeth. That's in the automatic part of my brain. Don't have to think about it. But I am brushing my teeth so fast and so hard. And every now and then, thanks to my wife, I will catch myself. Now, she was the first one that pointed it out to me. She's like, you are going to brush those things out of your head if you don't slow down. And now I catch myself, and sometimes I'm just like, and I'm not thinking about it. I'm thinking about the 10 meetings that I've got today, and I got to think these things I got to do. Hang on. And you stop. And you actually just brush slowly, carefully, massage the gums, appreciate the teeth, taste the toothpaste, enjoy the moment. One of the mentors that I like to read in my life, he says, take the moments when you wash your hands. And he said, while you're holding your hands under the sink, this is another unconscious behavior. You know, we wash our hands, we don't even think about it. We're just thinking about whatever's next, you know, and towel, okay, whatever, right? But next time you wash your hands, think about this. Next time you wash your hands, put your hands under the water and feel the water. Make it warm so you don't have to hurry. And feel the water in between your hands. And just allow the process to slow down. Be completely in this moment. While you're washing your hands, don't think about anything else. Don't think about the meetings you have at work. Don't think about the fight that you just had with your spouse. Don't think about how crazy your kids are. Don't think about your bills. Just think about this moment. That's what meditation does. It slows down the whole reaction time in my life so that I can respond properly. Here's the fifth thing that I've noticed about meditation. When I'm meditating regularly, as I have almost every day for the last 4 years, sometimes multiple times a day, it increases my creativity. This is too deep to get into in one session, but I'd be happy to explain it further. You can do your own research. But what happens in meditation, it moves us from a particular brain frequency to a different frequency, where we get right into that zone where we're almost asleep but not quite, where we're almost in dream state but not quite. You know, like in those moments, or maybe in the middle of the night when you wake up and you have this amazing idea, and you're like, I got to remember that in the morning because that's going to change the world. And something inside of you says you should really write it down right now, but you choose not to because that's way too much trouble in the middle of the night, so you don't. And the next morning when you wake up, do you remember it? No. You know, Thomas Edison used to use a technique. You know, what did he invent? Like everything. But he had this technique. He would hold a metal ball in his hand, and he would sit in a chair. And in the afternoon, he would doze off for his nap. And when he dozed off for his nap, his hand would relax, and that ball would fall out, and it would hit the wooden floor in his office, and it would wake him up. And whatever he thought of, as soon as he woke up, he would write it down. And the thought that he wrote down in one of those sessions was the light bulb. So, what could be harnessed in terms of creativity if we would just use the mental faculties that God's given us and use them to our own advantage? If you're like me, one of the things that I do is I try to press my brain and its capacity beyond its limits, and it squishes your creativity down dramatically. You work 9, 10, 12 hours a day, and you think, I can create one more thing. You really can't. Your brain's done. Just give it a rest. Go take a nap. In our culture, we don't take naps. It's un-American, right? But it's amazing what would happen if we would just harness the power of meditation. All right, here's the sixth thing meditation does. It keeps me centered. Have you ever walked through a day, and over the course of the day, you just feel like you're off center, like you're off balance? You know your back's not crooked, or maybe yours is, and you go to the chiropractor for it or whatever, but you just walk through the day, you're like, man, this whole day is off. What is wrong with the world? It's like 2 degrees off its axis or something. I don't know what in the world. We never think it's us. It's always everybody else. What people are jacked up today. And if we meditate and it increases our awareness and allows us to push pause and it increases our ability to respond instead of react, all of a sudden we might wake up and go, hang on a second. I'm actually the one off center. And there have been moments, this is, in our house, this is one of the terminology that we use sometimes. Peg will even say to me, you're a little off center. Have you meditated today? And you know, my initial reaction is, well, hell no, I haven't meditated today. If I was, you think I'd be cursing at you right now? But now I've come to receive it. I accept it. I'm like, you know what? You are right, honey. I got to go meditate. And there's all kinds of things that knock us off center as we go throughout the course of our day, right? Walk through your day and somebody has an argument, or they come at you, or they attack you, and a kunk knocks us off center. We get some bad news from work or bad news from the doctor, and kunk. If we don't have something that puts us back to right, some of us can end up living our whole life off center. What I find is that as I walk through the crowds of everyday life, if I'm off center, I keep bumping into people. So what does it look like just to be centered? Centered in my purpose, centered in God's presence in my life, centered in my thoughts. All right, I want to give you a really quick meditation how-to. As I said, there are lots and lots and lots of forms of meditation out there, and I'm going to give you one that you can actually embrace immediately, even if you're not a meditator. But look at this passage of Scripture with me. This is a good passage for us. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, O Lord. God's pleased when we spend time taking our mind and pushing pause and allowing it to be filled with thoughts of goodness and rightness and beauty. So let me give you some real practical how-tos in terms of meditation. If you've never done it before and you want to engage it, write these down. These are there's no magic to this, and like I said, there's many different kinds. And we're actually in the process right now. I think in the next couple weeks we're going to try to have a meditation class, and I'm working right now on a schedule. I know a couple of you emailed me after the last time I talked about this, said I'd really be interested in that, and we're gonna give you some practical help. But today I just want to get you out the gates, all right? Because you can meditate anywhere, anytime. But let me give you a couple things. So first of all, find your place, find your spot where you want to meditate every day. For me, it's my chair up in the front room of our house, and it's the spot that I go to meditate. And it's sort of known, when the kids come in and they see Dad sitting in the chair in the front room, and I usually put my headphones on, not with any noise, just so that it's quieter outside my head, so I can make it quiet inside my head. When they come down and they see Dad sitting there with his headphones on and his eyes are closed, they've stopped checking my pulse. Okay, they know I'm still alive now, but they leave me alone. The other morning it was funny. I was up early, and for some reason Abby was up early, and I hear her come kind of clomping down the stairs. It's like 5 in the morning. I'm like, why is she up? And so I hear her. She goes into the kitchen, and I hear the ice machine. At 5 in the morning. She gets her water, and then all of a sudden she comes out, and she I guess she sees me around the corner of the stairs, so she comes around the stairs, and she stops and looks at me. Now, my eyes are closed, but I know someone's looking at me. All right? You can feel it. And so then I hear her go over, and she lays on the couch next to my chair, and she just lays over there. I'm like, okay, good. She's gonna let me finish here. This is good. So I started, get back to quiet. I never open my eyes, because I know if I do, then it's engagement time. So I just keep my eyes closed, and I'm meditating. I hear her get up, and I think, oh, she's going to go back into the kitchen, go upstairs, and I'll be by myself, just me and Jesus. That'll be awesome. So as she's leaving, she stops in front of me again. She reaches out her hand, pats me on the knee, and then she wanders off. I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. She comes back. She doesn't quite understand. She's 13. She has Down syndrome. She doesn't quite understand what Dad's doing, but she knows something's different, right? When it's really cold, like I'll wrap up in a blanket, so I look sort of like an Incan statue, right? And she comes back, lays over on the couch. Finally, I kind of finish my meditation. I open my eyes. She's been staring at me the whole time. Just looking right at me. So you got to find your place. You got to find a place where you can be uninterrupted, but it's your spot. Here's number two, create your posture. Some people can meditate while they're laying down. I can't. It just doesn't work for me. Something about pressing on my gray matter back here or something, I don't know. But it just doesn't work for me. I have to be sitting upright. That's why when you read a lot of meditative practices, you can sit on a meditation pillow or a cushion, and they want you to sit upright with your back straight. You find what works for you. Create a posture that works for you. It doesn't matter. One of the things that I suggest to people when I try to encourage them about meditation is, sit with your feet on the floor and your hands, nicely, lightly on your lap. We are most of the time unconscious of what's happening in our body and how it affects our mind. But if I'm sitting down in a meditative practice and I'm crossing my legs like this, or doing the comfortable leg cross, what's happening is everything right here, it's all pressure between here, and most of the time I'm unconscious because I've trained my body not to go, wow, your legs are like a pretzel, you should untangle them. For some reason it feels comfortable, but to my mind's having to process the reality that my legs are all crossed up. So just sit with both feet on the floor, both hands on your lap. Close your eyes if you're afraid of not being hijacked in your own house. Okay? Find your posture that works for you. Number three, eliminate distractions. Okay? This is very, very important, right? It's hard to eliminate all the distractions all the time, but if you use your phone for like a timer, which I'll encourage you to, be sure it's on like off. Nobody can call you, text you. There's no emails are not coming in. There's not chimes happening. There's not, all the stuff that the noise that our phone, just do not disturb. Right? You got to eliminate all the distractions. Leave it in the other room if you don't know how to turn it off. Some of us don't know how to turn it off. No TV in the background. Pets, if you have pets, lock them somewhere away from you, in the closet or in the garage or whatever. But pets don't know how to meditate. All right, number 4, close your eyes and breathe deeply. Let's practice that right now. I want you just to close your eyes. I want you to breathe in. Not a shallow breath, because most of us breathe very shallowly all the time. So I want you to breathe really deep. Do it again. One more time. You can open your eyes now. For a lot of us, that's really uncomfortable for a lot of reasons. One, we're just not accustomed to it. 2, we're worried about what our breath smells like. Right? Our body's not trained to it. Our diaphragm's not trained to a deep breath like that. Did you know 70% of the waste from your body comes out through your breath? 70%. And yet we breathe most of the time shallow little breaths, and we don't evacuate our body of the waste that goes on just through breathing. So breathe and breathe deeply. That's the first step. Just breathe. And then here's the next step, number 5. Just observe your breath. Observe it. When you're breathing in consciously, I want you to, what are you feeling? Feel it going up through your nostrils. Feel it coming out your mouth. Feel it passing over your lips. Feel it drying out your tongue and your throat. Feel your breath. Observe it. Observe your diaphragm enlarging. By the time you've observed your breath for a minute or so, you can actually, if you listen, you'll begin to hear your heartbeat. You take the time to just observe your breath. This is one of the easiest ways to learn how to meditate, because your breath is necessary for your life. And it's part of the automatic part of our brain. We breathe unconsciously, but what happens when we begin to breathe consciously? And then number 6, use a focus phrase. There's a lot of different phrases that you can use, a lot of mantras that you can use. One that you can use it could be as simple as this. When you're breathing in, just say the phrase in your mind, not out loud, just say it in your mind. I'm breathing in. I'm breathing in. And while you're breathing out, just say it. I'm breathing out. I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out. Because what happens is our brains, we think they're so sophisticated, and they truly are, but they're so simple, they're so linear. You cannot focus on 2 things at the same time in your brain. You can't. It just doesn't work. Think about a pink elephant right now. Just think about the pink elephant, right? Think about it. And then think about the blue dog. Now think about them at the same moment. Pink elephant, blue dog. Think about them at the exact same. Pink dog, blue elephant. Can't. Doesn't work. You can only think about one thing at a time. Now you can switch real quick, but your brain won't let you think about 2 things simultaneously. So if you're thinking about a phrase, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, you can't think about anything else. Your brain won't let you. Maybe it's a passage of scripture. Here's one that I like to use. Be still and know that I'm God. I like to use that sometimes as my mantra. Be still and know that I'm God. Be still and know that I'm God. It's a great mantra to use during meditation. So you're breathing. And the whole time you're breathing, you're just quietly in your mind repeating that scripture from Psalm. Be still and know that I'm God. Number 7, use a timer. I encourage people to do this most of the time because however long you determine it's right for you to meditate, And if you're just starting and you're like, I can't meditate, just start with 5 minutes. Just do 5 minutes. But use a timer. Because if you don't, the whole 5 minutes you're going to be going, is my time up yet? Is my time up yet? How much longer do I have? Because you'll sit there for what seems like 47 minutes and you'll look and go, oh, that was 30 seconds. I have 4.5 more minutes to go. So use a timer. There's all kind. If you just if you have a smartphone, and just Google an app for meditation timer, and you'll find a lot of them out there, and they're free. And they usually have a chime at the beginning and a chime at the end. So set your time, whatever you determine is your appropriate time, but just use a timer. That way, it frees your mind up from having to figure out how long you're gonna meditate. Number 8. Do it daily. Do it daily. I believe that, like any spiritual practice we engage in, the more we practice, the better we get. And if you decide to take up a meditation practice, 5 minutes a day is better than 2 hours a week. Right? So do it 5 minutes a day. Just 5 minutes every day. You're like, no, I'll do it on Saturday, and I'll do 2.5 hours because I'm like a power meditator. Okay. Do your own thing. That's fine. Just do it every day, okay? And then number 9, accept what it is. Don't judge it. Because here's what will happen. You'll do your 5 minutes the first day, and you're like, that didn't do me any good. Don't judge it. Don't judge it. Like, I don't see any benefit. Don't judge it. I didn't have a burning bush up here. I expected that to like come out at my timer went off, boom, and then next to me, nothing. I'm like, this is a ripoff. Not doing this meditation stuff. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Just accept it for what it is. Meditation teachers have something that we call, especially in centering prayer, something called monkey mind. So you imagine a monkey swinging through the trees in the jungle, and that's what our mind does sometimes, right? It jumps from one thought to another, to another, to another. And some days, there's just so much mental energy going on, you just can't get the monkey to stand still for a minute. Stay with it. Stay with your meditation. Finish it out till your timer goes off. Because you're in the middle of it, you're going, this is not doing me any good. I can't get the monkey to be still. Do it anyway. And over time, you're going to find that the monkey will be still. I've been doing it for 4 years, almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And I can tell you there's still some days when I sit down and do my meditation and I can't make my mind be quiet. There's just too much going on in my life. You walk through the day and all this stuff starts globbing onto you, pressures, challenges, difficulties, and you finish the end of the day and you're like, oh gosh, I can't make my mind be quiet. I'll sit down and for a moment of meditation and I just can't seem to get it to be quiet. It won't stop. I can't push pause hard enough. It just won't quit. I do it anyway. So do it every day. Don't judge it. Let it be what it is. Let it flow naturally. Don't put unrealistic expectations on it. And then number 10, here you go. Discover what works for you. Discover what works for you. Here's what I know is, and it's based on science, it's based on the Bible, it's based on my experience. Meditation can change your life if you'll engage it. But you have to engage it. If you're not ready to, don't worry about it. Don't. Let the world suffer. God, I know that some of us here today really want to be different people. And you've given us so many tools to do that. You've put amazing people in our life. You've given us great books to read. You've given us your truth and the Bible to live our lives by. You've given us songs to sing that connect our heart to you. You've given us prayers to pray. And God, I just want to thank you for what the gift of meditation has meant in my life and how it's changed me. And I just ask for those who are here today that are looking for a deep spiritual change in their life, give them the courage to engage it. Take away the fear of what we don't understand and let us just step into it. Let us find tools and allies that will help us engage the process of changing our mind and our spirit and our bodies. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, guys, thanks for being here today. As I said, I'll keep you up to date with the meditation practice or training that we want to do. I had a great email from Jeff a couple weeks ago about his meditation practice. And we have other people that are practicing different forms of meditation. If you want to talk to somebody about it, I can certainly get you hooked up with somebody that's knowledgeable and experienced in that journey.